But gives me great pleasure to welcome Mike Callicrate, and I would also have maybe Mike introduce his techno man, Aaron Taylor, is with us today. And let's give Aaron a big hand. He's filming this and putting it on the internet. And, we thank Ranch Foods Direct and the efforts that they've made to get this electronic help out for us. Mike?
Thanks, Carol. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I wanted to talk a little bit about what OCM is up to. The Organization for Competitive Markets was started 12 or 13 years ago, around the same time as RCAP. And we just saw some real problems in the marketplace. Thought competition might be a good idea. And so we decided that the way we would go about approaching trying to restore competitive markets is basically through litigation, legislation, and even the possibility of creating some new markets, some alternative type markets, local, regional type, establishing some new ideas around marketing more directly from the farms and ranches to consumers. And so this is ideas that we've had now for 12 or 13 years. And we're planning a convention. In fact, I brought along several agendas to share with y'all who may want one. But we're planning this convention in Kansas City, and the theme is Voices Rising from the Land, addressing the threats to independent family agriculture. And I was talking to Fred Stokes, longtime president and founding member of OCM, and really the driver. He's kind of the Bill Bullard of OCM, but the real driver behind our organization. Fred, isn't OCM irrelevant today? Don't we need competitors to have competitive markets? Whoa, really? Where's the competitors? They're gone. And thanks to the lack of antitrust law enforcement, thanks to bad government policy, thanks to basically concentration and consolidation of a marketplace, the competitors are gone. In fact, we not only have given up our competitive markets and our competitors, we've allowed foreign countries to take over big chunks of our national food system. And we toured one of them yesterday at JBS, a Brazilian-based company. How are they not here except to extract, exploit, convert our resources into their profits on a global basis? We've lost our food system. We are now a net food importer. So all of the fuss and all of the heck that we've created and all of the litigation and all of the legislation, we have done nearly nothing to address the problem of these concentrated, consolidated, and now monopoly markets. Wow, what are we doing here? Why don't we just give up? Why don't we just go home and drink some beer and turn on the football game? Or maybe the Olympics is coming up here pretty quick. We could watch that and just get all this off our mind. Well, the reason we don't is because of guys like John Lasalle, guys like Dave Wright. You talk about inspired people. They're driven. They're never, ever, ever going to give up. And I guarantee you aren't either, or you wouldn't be in this room. We're not going to give up. And so we're trying to figure out ways, how do we move this agenda forward to restore some prosperity back to rural America, and you folks who raise the livestock, you folks who really invest 85% of the money that it takes to put a steak or a hamburger on the plate, yet you receive very little return, and in fact, look forward to bankruptcies fairly often. As Bill Bullard will tell you, we've lost over 40% of our ranchers in the last 35 years, 40 years. We've lost 90% of our pork producers. You all know that. But you know where we're headed? We're headed right into the chicken structure. Tyson, I remember in 2002, promised at the National Cattlemen's Beef Association meeting, he promised cattlemen at that meeting when he decided and was announcing they were buying IBP. He said, we will never turn the beef industry into the vertically integrated structure of poultry. This is exactly what they are doing today. The feedlots are concentrated, consolidated, and even the biggest feedlots now are losing markets, are unable to sell their cattle for a fair price. They cannot take the risk of $8 corn. And so we're going to see even more consolidation. And I guess our point is, at OCM, is what's the next step? How do we collaborate? How do we pull people together, consumers, others, whoever wants to be on our side? The Bill Bullard talked about the Coalition for Prosperous America. That was incubated by the Organization for Competitive Markets at Glen Erie in Colorado Springs about 4 years ago. It's got over 3 million supporters carrying our message of competitive markets and fair trade. You know, we talked this morning about, we even went back into the Old Testament, and then I think what you get is there's really nothing new under the sun. We are back to where we were 100 years ago. We are back to the robber baron era. We've been there before, but what we do not have now is a Teddy Roosevelt. We had a president, was it this spring, that spoke in Potawatomi, Kansas, like Teddy Roosevelt, but he is not Teddy Roosevelt. And he has absolutely no plans that I can see to do anything like what Teddy Roosevelt did to break up the monopolies of that day and those robber barons. And how do we put enough pressure on politicians to restore fair markets for all of us, including the consumers who eat our food? And so thinking about OCM's approach of litigation, legislation, and alternative food systems, the one we kind of like is litigation. But it hasn't worked. You know the story about the Pickett case, went to the Supreme Court, all the way to the Supreme Court. We argued before them that day that they should hear this case for fair markets for cattle. But they were considering another case, and they were only going to hear one of them. That other case was Anna Nicole Smith's Family Feud case. We were thrown into the Tyson meat grinder where we remain today. And what darn good did it do them to hear Anna Nicole Smith's Family Feud case? How many of those family members are still with us today? Not very many, if any. But let's not give up yet on litigation. And I'm going to just kind of go down this agenda for our meeting that'll be held on August 10th and 11th in Kansas City at the Residence Inn at the airport. Dudley Butler will be there. Dudley will be talking about the GIPSA rule. He'll be talking about the joint workshops, the unrealized expectations, the reasons that he quit, the reasons that he left the administration. And he can probably compare his story very closely with Christine Marty's story and Phil Weezer's story. Why did they leave the Justice Department? Because they were not allowed to do their jobs. After they had those hearings around the country and realized what a big problem the markets were, the lack of markets were, they were never allowed to go forward and to do any restoration of these markets. And so these people have left. Dudley's going to be there, and he's going to be talking about that. But one thing I want to talk about a little bit is, where are we at today at the Farm and Ranch Gate with your income? You saw a pretty good bump last year in the price that you received for calves. It's down this year. But I can tell you, based on last year's prices, which were unprecedented at your ranch gate, you were still 12% short of your share of the consumer beef dollar as compared to 1970. That's $260 to $300 per head that you were still short even last fall as you sold your calves. How much money is there in a finished steer or heifer today that the USDA does inspection on? A 1,350 pound average weight animal. How much value is there in that meat? It's around $3,300. About 160 of that is drop credits. We don't ever hear about those when Andy Gottschalk and the guy from Idaho, what's his name? The meat packer spokesman out there, John Nalivka. We don't ever hear about those drop credits when those guys are telling us almost weekly how much the packer's losing. And of course, at the end of the year, they've reported amazing profits. So we're still 12% short. We still got a lot of work to do to get income increased at your farm and ranch gate. And the best way I know to do that is to litigate, to sue them constantly, to keep them off balance and on guard, and to at least have a threat of antitrust law enforcement. So we're going to continue that. And in fact, one of the attorneys in the case that sued the fertilizer cartel, which is a global cartel consisting of about 4 companies, they are cooperating to raise fertilizer prices to farmers. They're winning those court hearings. And in fact, that case has now been approved to go to the jury if it makes it there. But we're doing something about the fertilizer cartel. Well, this very same law firm, Dan Owen with Pasanelli in Kansas City, and boy, we hope we get to announce this at the OCM meeting, but there is litigation being planned right now against the 4 big packers for allocating territory. Now that is not in violation of only the Packers and Stockyards Act, which of course we found out isn't being enforced, but it's also in violation of the Sherman-Clayton antitrust laws. Those are powerful antitrust laws that also give us treble damages and attorney's fees. So they carry a very big stick if you win them. And so this is the firm that's winning the fertilizer cases, and hopefully we get something going on the Packer cases. This is the only thing that's going to keep you getting a fair price for your calves. It is this, in my opinion, is this, as well as another thing I'll talk about in a minute. Failings of the regulatory agencies. Bob Taylor, Auburn University, is going to be there. He's the smartest economist in the country as far as antitrust law enforcement is concerned. He's going to talk about the Justice Department's and USDA's GIPS's hearings and why they came to the conclusions they did, why they haven't done anything in his view. And I was just thinking earlier during the meeting, we've got this LIBOR issue with the interest rates. And this bill, and that's the London Interbank Offered Rate. And it just came out, big corruption. These guys have been rigging the interest rates for a long time. And when Bill Bullard was talking about the big meat packers and how they use captive supplies and how they use their own cattle when the prices are high and your cattle when the prices are low, this is exactly what they're doing on these interest rate markets, what these big banks have been doing. There is corruption throughout the system. And I'll tell you, I thought John Lasalle did a good job of explaining why does this go on? Why does it go on? We just need to shed some light, and enough people hopefully can come and get involved and maybe elect a guy like Dave Anderson who's willing to go and do what it takes and not be bought off in Washington. So at least we have that opportunity here in the 5th District of Colorado. And so checkoffs, we're putting together a suit right now on the beef checkoff. We are going after AMS. I think will probably be the plaintiff, but we're going after them for approving those funds into the U.S. Farmers and Ranchers Alliance. That fake organization that says they're farmers and ranchers. That fake organization that represents industrial agriculture. That fake organization that has every intent to make you all chicken farmers. We're going to do everything we can to take away their funding, which is our checkoff dollars, being diverted to uses contrary to our interest. And we'll have a lot more information on that at the conference as well. We're going to talk about deceptive food marketing. How about pink slime? How about meat glue? How about all this blade tenderization from the Zilmax Optiflex fed cattle? When consumers find out about this stuff, they don't eat beef. We better come up with some alternatives for consumers to buy our beef around this industrial system, because they're losing beef demand big time. And you saw the cow numbers over here from Bill Bullard earlier and from Dave Wright as well. We are losing demand big time. But does any of these packers really care? Not much. Tyson is also in the poultry business and the pork business, as well as beef. Cargill, same thing. JBS is the largest poultry processor in this country. They own Pilgrim's Pride. They also have pork. They don't care. And they're going to tell these consumers to just eat it or leave it. But our message should be that beef is high quality, it's good, it's delicious, and you should eat it. And you shouldn't have to worry about the Zilmax and the Optiflex and all the implants and the hormones and the antibiotics and everything else that Katie Kirk and Diane Sawyer talk about on television. Let's take away that negative impact on our beef demand. Pink slime is a wake-up call. There's much more to come if we don't pay attention here.